Alice walked quickly down the dimly lit street, clutching her purse tightly. She had a bad feeling about this part of town, but she had to get home. She had stayed late at work, and now it was almost midnight.
Just a few more blocks. You can do this, Alice.
She quickened her pace, her heart pounding in her chest. Suddenly, she heard footsteps behind her. She turned, but saw no one.
Hello. Who's there?
No response. Alice started walking again, but the footsteps followed her. She turned again, but still saw no one.
This isn't funny. Leave me alone.
The footsteps grew closer. Alice started to run, her pulse racing.
Help. Somebody help me.
She looked around frantically, but there was no one in sight. The footsteps were getting closer and closer.
Please, God. Somebody help me.
And with that, Alice broke into a full sprint, her heart pounding in her chest as she ran for her life. Alice didn't stop running until she was several blocks away. She leaned against a building, trying to catch her breath. She looked around, making sure that whoever had been following her was nowhere.
What the hell was that? Was someone really following me, or am I just losing my mind?
She shook her head, trying to clear the fear and panic from her mind. She knew that she had to keep moving if she was going to get home safely. As she started walking again, she heard a noise behind her. She turned, but saw nothing. She continued walking, but the noise persisted.
Who's there?
No response. Alice quickened her pace, her heart racing with fear. She turned again, and this time she saw a figure lurking in the shadows.
Who are you? What do you want?
The figure stepped forward, revealing a menacing grin. You should be more careful, Alice. You never know who might be following you. Alice recognized the voice immediately. It was her ex-boyfriend, Jack.
Jack. What the hell are you doing here? How did you find me?
I've been watching you, Alice. I knew you would be walking home alone. I just had to see you again.
Alice backed away, her eyes wide with fear.
You need to leave me alone, Jack. We're over. It's done.
I can't just let you go, Alice. I need you. I love you.
Alice shook her head, her heart pounding in her chest.
No, Jack. You don't love me. You're sick. You're obsessed.
I'm not obsessed, Alice. I'm just passionate. You'll see. We're meant to be together.
Alice turned and ran, her feet pounding the pavement as she fled from Jack's menacing presence. She knew that she had to get away, to find somewhere safe where she could call for.
Please, God. Somebody help me.
And with that, Alice continued running, her heart racing with fear as she tried to escape from the man who had become her worst nightmare. Alice sprinted down the street, her heart pounding in her chest. She could hear Jack's footsteps behind her, getting closer with every passing second.
Leave me alone, Jack. Please.
I can't do that, Alice. You belong to me.
Alice's mind raced as she ran. She knew that she had to find help, but she had no idea where to.
Think, Alice. Think. You need to find somewhere safe.
She looked around frantically, trying to spot a place where she could seek refuge. Then, she saw it. A small convenience store at the end of the block.
Yes. That's it. I can go inside and call for help.
Alice sprinted towards the store, her heart pounding in her chest. She could hear Jack's footsteps getting closer, but she didn't dare turn around. She knew that she had to keep running until she was safe. As she reached the store, Alice threw open the door and ran inside, panting for breath.
Help. Somebody, please help me.
The store clerk looked up, startled by Alice's sudden entrance.
What's going on? Are you all right?
No, I'm not all right. There's a man following me. He won't leave me alone.
The clerk's eyes widened in alarm.
Okay, calm down. We'll call the police.
Alice nodded, her heart racing with fear. She knew that she was safe for now, but she also knew that Jack was out there, somewhere, waiting for his chance to strike. As she waited for the police to arrive, Alice couldn't help but think about how different her life had been just a few short weeks ago. She had been happy, in love, and looking forward to a bright future. Now, all of that was gone, replaced by fear, uncertainty.
Why did this have to happen to me? What did I do to deserve this?
But there were no answers. Only silence and the haunting knowledge that Jack was out there, waiting to strike again. It felt like hours before the police finally arrived at the convenience store. Alice was exhausted and emotionally drained, but she knew that she had to tell them everything that had happened. Police officer. Ma'am, can you tell me what happened? Alice took a deep breath and recounted the events of the night, from the moment she left work to her frantic dash into the store. The police officer listened carefully, taking notes as Alice spoke. Police officer. Okay, we're going to do everything we can to find this man. In the meantime, I suggest that you stay with a friend or family member. We can arrange for someone to escort you home, if you'd like. Alice nodded, grateful for the offer of help. She had never felt so vulnerable in her life, and the thought of going back out into the dark streets alone was almost too much to bear.
Yes, please. That would be great.
The police officer made a few calls, and within minutes, Alice was on her way home with a police escort. As they drove through the streets, Alice couldn't help but think about how much her life had changed in such a short amount.
I never thought something like this could happen to me. I always thought that I was safe.
Police officer. Unfortunately, this kind of thing can happen to anyone. The important thing is that you're okay, and that we're doing everything we can to catch this guy. Alice nodded, feeling a glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, she would be able to put this nightmare behind her and start over. As the police car pulled up in front of Alice's apartment building, Alice breathed a sigh of relief. She got out of the car and walked up the steps to the entrance, feeling safer now that she wasn't alone.
Thank you. Thank you so much for everything.
Police officer. No problem. Just take care of yourself, okay? Alice nodded, her eyes filling with tears. She watched as the police car drove away, then turned and walked into her building. As she rode the elevator up to her apartment, Alice couldn't help but think about what had happened. She knew that she would never forget the fear and the sense of helplessness that she had felt that night.
But maybe, just maybe, I can learn from this. Maybe I can become stronger and more resilient. Maybe I can find a way to take back control of my life.
And with that, Alice stepped off the elevator and walked towards her apartment, determined to start a healing process and move forward, one step at a time.